Now, how many of you guys actually really like history? See, there's a couple of you smart people. The rest of you like math and science. That's where the rest of you guys hang out. My wife's an engineer. Math and science. So I did go to medical school, so math and science, but I like a good history. I like a good book. And I don't know how much you guys paid attention in school when we talked about Thanksgiving, but there was a whole bunch of people from a different continent that came over to this continent to blend in with the people who already lived here. You guys wouldn't know anything about that, right? Like nobody started a different continent and then moved to America. No, it's not something contiguous. When I was preaching this, actually this morning at my church, you got to understand the difference. The paradox is hilarious. This morning, outside of my family and 2 young men, the youngest person in my church is 65. Right? So now I'm going to preach the sermon to what's the oldest person in here, like 30, 34. Right? Like I'm 50, so at least you guys are going to be younger than I am. So there's 2 different spectrums on this whole thing. And my wife and I were talking about this because I'm a smart man and I run my sermons by my wife because, well, no one needs to repent like my wife. No, because she's a big help to me. And we were talking about Americans don't understand friendship. They don't get it like Ukrainians do. Now, I don't know, maybe it's different in the Italians, right? Maybe it's different in England, right? But I understand Ukrainian. And you guys know the difference between знакомство и дружба, right? In America, they don't seem to get that. Like, everybody's a friend. Like, you ever heard that phrase, I know a guy. Like, he's my friend. Really? Like, what's his mother's name? I don't know. Like, have you ever been to his house? Well, no, but he's my... How is he your friend if you don't know anything about him? I mean, come on, seriously. And forgive me if I speak in Russian, I don't speak in Ukrainian. That's a different topic for a different time. But do you know there's a difference between здравствуйте, здрасте, приветствую, и привет? Right? There's like different levels of your friendship. Do Americans have that? It's like, what's up? It doesn't matter if you know them or not. Right? So they don't get like there is a status of you're close to me or you're not so close to me. They don't get that. We have things like my friend, my best friend, my real friend. If you're with the bros, there's like my 2 a.m. friend. You guys know what a 2 a.m. friend is? It's that guy you call at 2 a.m. and he didn't just hit snooze and hope that you figured it out on your own. He actually woke up, answered the phone, is willing to help you. That's your 2 a.m. friend. All right, we have foxhole friends. That's the guy who's like in it with you. If he wasn't your friend beforehand, you 2 guys standing in a foxhole getting some junk coming on you, like he becomes your friend. He's got your back, you got his back. We'll figure the rest out. We also have the phrase in English, the fair weather friends. Yeah, we don't like those so much. So I want to get into some biblical reasons on friendship, right? Not the reasons why you should have them. Now, here's the thing I want you to pay attention to, because these are not going to be easy. As a matter of fact, some of them are going to be a little bit difficult. They're going to be a little bit in your face, but there's 2 different sides I need you to get. Are you this type friend? Are you being this friend to someone? And do you have one of these friends? Like, you could be the 2 a.m. friend, right? But are you a 2 a.m. friend? Right? You see, there's 2 different sides. I can't spend all night preaching both sides of that. You guys are just going to have to take that with me. Do you have one, and are you one, is what I need you to ask. Now, here's the first thing, and I actually asked Kona when we started this, how many of the vrosli, how many of the adults are going to be here? Because I'm going to say some things that they might not like. You guys ready for me to say things that the older people aren't really going to like? Right? You're like, okay, this is a preacher's trick to get you interested. Like, this is what I'm trying to pull off, okay? How about this? There's a story in the Bible about David and Jonathan. You guys know the story of David and Jonathan, right? So David, the King David, the David who killed David and Goliath, who killed Goliath, he had a friend named Jonathan, and Jonathan happened to be the King Saul's son. Right, but this is the worst soap opera that you've ever heard in your life. The Santa Barbara to the extreme. His best friend is Jonathan. His wife is Jonathan's sister. His father-in-law is the king, and he's trying to kill him. Like, they make TV series about stuff like this, right? And this is the situation that's going on. If you put up 1 Samuel chapter 18, 1 Samuel chapter 18, there you go. And it came to pass, when he made an end of speaking unto Saul, that the soul of Jonathan was knit with the soul of David. Now, I want to stop there, and I want to pay attention to that word knit just for a second. It's when you take this fabric, and you take this fabric, and you put them together, and you sew them. Now, to you, that's probably maybe clothing, maybe it's a purse, maybe it's something. I don't know what that's all about. I was a surgeon. So when you have a wound, and I'm taking one piece of skin, and I'm taking another piece of skin, and I'm putting them together, and I'm sewing them close enough that they eventually will become one, right? That's the idea that the Bible is using. It says, right, that the soul of Jonathan was knit with the soul of David. I don't know if you can get much closer than that, right? And Jonathan loved him, David, as his own soul. And Saul took him that day and would let him go no more home with it to his father's house. Then Jonathan and David made a covenant. And he says he made a covenant because he loved him as his own soul. And Jonathan stripped himself of the robe that was on him and gave it to David, and his garments, even his sword, and to his bow, and to his girdle. He basically said, all of the authority that I have as the king's son, as the prince of Israel, I take off and I give to you. That's big. That's really, really big. And I'm not going to get into that as much as I want you to understand that there is a friendship here that is nothing. But David and Jonathan were both soldiers, and they were soldiers in their own right. Jonathan wasn't like the little guy following around. Jonathan actually killed hundreds of people on his own without David being around. Like, these are two solid soldiers that got knit together as friends. You say, preacher, what's the point you're getting at? You ready? Biblical friends will break the rules for you. Uh-oh. He's like, the preacher just told us to break the rules. Now look, right? If you're the friend who is causing your friend to break the rules, you're a bad friend. You should not be that friend. But let me ask you this. In this country, in our scenario, who's the ruler? Who makes the rules? The king. Jonathan's dad. Did or did Jonathan not help David escape from his own father? That's a little bit hard to swallow, isn't it? He helped him break the rules. Now, I'm not saying you're willing to. I'm not saying you want to. I'm not saying that you should. I'm just saying this friend helped him break the rules. You're like, that can't be right. Okay. We're more for like family. I mean, did you understand that you were preaching at a Ukrainian church? It's family, right? You understand that my name is Pasquale Giuseppe Cristoforo La Barbera. We invented the word mafia, right? You understand? Mafia means family. Like, I get it. Proverbs 18:24. You guys got that one? No, I'm not making it up. Proverbs 18:24 says, a man that is a friend must show himself to be friendly. And there is a friend that sticketh closer than a brother. You can't choose your family. I know, I've tried. Like, you guys have never met my mom and my dad and my sister. No, I'm kidding, right? But you can choose your friends. If you don't choose them, your friends aren't the people that are just next to you, right? A lot of us make friends in high school or in junior high because they're just the kids that are there. It's not like we had a whole lot of choice, right? Choosing your friends is a little bit more important. We're going to get into that choosing portion in a little bit, right? But what I'm saying is, if you have a friend, it's a true friend, a biblical friend, that friend that you need, they'll break the rules for you. You guys remember Peter and Jesus, disciple and Messiah? Right? I would say after 3.5 years walking around together, they were friends. You could say that they're not friends. We can argue that, but I believe that they were friends. And you know what Peter did for Jesus? In John chapter 18 and verse 10, it says, then Simon Peter, having a sword, drew it and smote the high priest's servant and cut off his right ear. Was that legal? Was that the right thing for him to do? Did he miss part of those 10 commandments of thou shalt not kill? I'm thinking he cut off his ear because he missed his head. Like, I don't think he was aiming at the, I don't think he was such a good swordsman. He was like, ha-ha, right? I think he just swung and missed and just got the guy's ear. And then Jesus had to put it back on again. You're like, you're kidding me. I'm like, listen, there are some things that you have to choose family over, that you have to choose friends over family. Like, I don't see that. If you'd like, we can spend the next 40 minutes. I'll go through all the times in the Bible where that happened. There's sometimes when you have to choose your friends over the laws. Now, I'm not saying you're not supposed to, like, I'm not preaching anarchy here, right? This is not like Charlie's Angels or what's the Harley group? I forget the other angels, but you get what I'm talking about. How about this next one? Mark chapter 2. Mark chapter 2, verse 1 to 5. You guys got that up there for me? There we go. Thanks, guys. All right. And again he entered into Capernaum, and after those days it was noised that he, Jesus, was in the house. And straightway many were gathered together, insomuch that there was no room to receive them. No, not so much as at the door. And he preached unto the word unto them. So you guys get the idea that Jesus is in the room preaching, right? And all of the pews are full. There's people standing outside of that door. There's people standing outside of that door. We got the doors open in the back, and there's people back there trying to listen to him. And this guy is trying to get to Jesus, and he can't. And they said, verse number 3, and they come unto him and bring one sick of the palsy, which was born of 4. Now, he didn't have 4 mothers. He was carried, right? Think of it as there's a gurney, right? One guy's on one corner, one guy's in the other corner, and they're carrying this guy in, right? So it was born of 4. And when they could come not nigh unto them for the press, again, not the reporters, but because there were so many people, right? They uncovered the roof where he was in, and when they had broken the roof up, they let down the bed wherein the sick of the palsy was. Anybody think that was cool? Please don't do that at my house, right? If you've heard that I have the gift of healing, please do not come to my house, climb up on the roof, and start raking and chainsawing through my roof so you can lower some. Like, that's just not cool. And listen, if there's that many people in the house, do you think the owner of the house was there? Come on, think about this for a moment. Think about your grandma at her house, watching somebody chainsaw the roof. There's a war going to start. If grandma's sitting there going, "What are you doing? Что ты делаешь?" Like, it's just not going to happen. Well, they were breaking some cultural rules here. They're kind of cutting in line. Right now, how many of you guys that are here that are Ukrainian actually spent time in Ukraine? Okay, a few of you. There's line and there's rules for that. In Ukraine, they just mob and they look like kto koroshi, like who's the next one, right? And then you get to go away and come back to your spot. You don't get to go away and come back. Like, there's rules for standing in line, and these guys totally just broke the rules. Let me ask you a question. Do you have a friend in your life that'd be willing to break the rules to get you to Jesus Christ? You said, "I'm already saved." I wasn't talking about salvation. What if you're going off the rails someplace? What if you're spending time with the wrong people, you're doing the wrong things? Do you have a friend to be willing to break the rules to get you to Christ? Are you a friend that would break the rules, the cultural rules, the family rules to get you to Christ, to get them to Christ? This isn't like, ooh, we're friends because we like pinky swore and we text each other till 2 a.m. This is legit. Are you a real friend? A biblical friend? Let me push this on a little bit. Number 2, if you have a biblical friend is a biblical friend will tell you things you don't want to hear. Now, there's 2 sides of looking at this, right? Like, if I am your biblical friend, I'm going to tell you some things that you don't want to hear, right? If you are my biblical friend, you are going to tell me some things I don't want to hear. What are you talking about? Right? We're going to go back to David for a minute in 2 Samuel verse 12. Now, let me tell you the story, right? I think you know this. This is one of the most popular stories in the Bible, where David sinned with Bathsheba. He did something horrible, right, that he ended up setting up his friend to go and get killed so that he could have his wife. Right? We're not going to get into the details of the story, right? David did it and is not feeling horrible about it. Not the fact that he saw somebody, he did something, he sinned with that person, and then he tried to kill it and cover it up. Like, this is nothing that you guys have ever tried to do. I'm sure you guys have never sinned to try to cover it up, so your parents or friends never knew. That's never happened, right? But nonetheless, he's sitting there and he's trying to cover it up, and then his friend, the prophet Nathan, comes in and he says, "Hey, listen, there was this guy, and he had some sheep, and another guy who had more sheep than that guy came and stole one of his sheep, right? And now left that guy poor and sheepless. And David's like, how could he do that? You tell me who that man is, and we will go and we will kill him and punish him. And Nathan looks back at him and goes, thou art the man. Now, it wasn't like, thou art the man. It was like, you're the guy who did it. Now, he had to be creative enough to go out and around the story and come back and say, look, you're not doing this right. Do you have a friend that loves you enough to risk your friendship and say, you're not doing this right? Joab was the captain of the Lord's host, right? Joab was the captain of David's host. He was the general, if you would. And David was having a fight with his son Absalom, if you don't know the story. Absalom is one of David's 5 sons, and Absalom was trying to take the kingdom away from David, right? So you have dad and you have son, and dad's got this kingdom, and Joab and Absalom's trying to take this kingdom, and they're fighting back and forth. And Joab is the general on David's side trying to kill off Absalom. And David says, listen, beat them, take back the kingdom, but don't hurt my son. Makes perfect sense. So in a really fun biblical twist, Absalom is riding his horse under a tree, gets his hair stuck in the tree, and his horse kept going, and he's swinging by his hair, right? So he's hanging there, and Joab go up, and he says, listen, that's Absalom. Kill him. If you kill him, the revolt is done. And the guy's like, I will not kill him. The king told me not to. And Joab killed him. The general, David's general, killed Absalom. And then went back to the kingdom and looked at David and says, listen. And David was furious with him. And Joab goes, shut up. You're wrong. He was trying to steal the kingdom from all of us and ruin Israel. Your son was wrong, and I did what needed to be done. Repent and ask the people for forgiveness. You guys got a friend like that? A friend that will go against your wishes to protect you, to do the right thing? Are you a friend like that? Like, would you be willing to risk your friendship with someone to correct them? I got enough znakomstva. I need a good friend. There are guys in my life that do this to me. There are guys that I do this to them. There is a gentleman in the next few weeks that I have to go talk to. I have heard from the side, right, that he has not been very polite to his wife. He's not beating her. He's not dragging her around, right? He was just rude on the way that he was treating his wife in front of somebody else. And I heard about it. He is one of my friends. This is not this is no Kwame, right? This is a friend of mine that I talk to about deep matters. And because I'm busy right now, I can't just do it tomorrow. But I'm going to go and say, hey, listen, I heard about this. If I heard about it, other people have heard about it. And you're not doing a good job being an example of Christ to your wife. I'm not saying you're a bad guy. I'm not saying you're wicked, evil, and we have to church you. I'm just saying if I heard about it, it's getting around. Now, what's the chance you can say, LaBarbara, get out of here. You don't know anything you're talking about. You weren't there. Okay. His wife might appreciate it. Now, how do you understand these things? This is where I want to get into this a little bit, and it's very specific. So hold on with me for a moment. Do you guys know what the word deputize means? Do you know this word? If you watch a TV movie with the FBI, sometimes they need some extra help, so they bring them out and say, raise your right hand, put your left hand on the Bible and say, I solemnly swear to protect the, whatever the case. They deputize, they like make them. Right? I'm going to tell you that you guys need to deputize your friend. Right? What I mean by that is you have to tell them, you have to invite them, you have to say, listen, I need you to be this kind of friend for me. What that does is it does a couple of things. Now that person understands what level of friendship you have with them. 2, right, if that person comes up to you and says, listen, you're doing wrong, you can't be like, I'm not listening to you. You're the one who asked me to come into your life. Right? Now, this is another thing my wife and I were talking about with friendship, with Ukrainians and Americans. right? It seems as though you can go to an American and you say, hey, listen, how do you think I did in this? Do you think I'm doing all right? And they're like, oh, no, I can't tell you how to make that decision. That is totally your decision. You make it on your own. Right? On the flip side, it seems like you can't get Ukrainians to stop telling you about how it is you're supposed to be able to run your life. You're like they just want to volunteer. Oh, do it like this. Do it like this. We figured out the right way. Right? Both ends of those spectrum are wrong. Right? If you initiate in someone and say, "Hey, listen, you're allowed to speak into my life, and when you come and you speak into my life, I will listen. I might not like it. You might hurt my feelings," which brings me to another verse. Do you know that the verse in the Bible that says that faithful are the wounds of a friend? The Bible even thought that your friends were going to wound you. It says faithful are the wounds of a friend, but the kisses, that's not what you're after. Also, here's the other side. If you deputize your friends, like the guys that I have in my life that are allowed to speak into my life, you know what that means? Please don't be offended. I don't have to listen to y'all. You guys can come up to me afterwards and be like, that was the worst sermon that I have ever heard. I'm like, okay. On the way home, I'm going to ask my wife, how'd I do? She's going to be like, I'm like, oh, I'll try harder. She goes, you did better in the morning. She's allowed to speak into me. She's allowed to hurt me, right? I asked her, if you guys are like, that was the greatest sermon that I have ever heard, you should preach more often. Still, you guys don't have the weight of the person that I deputized. So my question to you is, did you deputize someone? Did you ask them and let them know, hey, listen, if I'm going off, you need to get into my life. I'm not saying I'm going to like it. I'm not saying I'm going to be friendly and warm and fuzzy when you get into my life, but I'm asking you to get in. Are you a person that someone would ask? If you don't think someone would ask you to be honest and to get into their life and to tell them the truth, maybe you need to work on your character a little bit. So a biblical friend it will break the rules for you, but you shouldn't ask them to. A biblical friend is someone who's going to tell you some things that you don't want to hear. Now, I've mentioned this. I'm going to take this one step farther. We're going to go back to Jesus and Peter, right? You remember what Peter said to David? I did it again. What Jesus said to Peter? Get thee behind me, Satan. Bet you they had a warm, loving relationship, right? They just hugged after that one, right? If you read it in the context, 2 verses before that, Jesus says, listen, Satan has desired to sift you as wheat, but I have prayed for you that your faith will increase. Now that's a friend that I want. A friend that's going to pray for me, knows that hard times are coming, but when I go too far, he's like, back in line. Now, here's the other side of this. Friends for counseling, right? Now, you understand, will tell you things you don't want to hear is they're going to correct you. There's the other side of tell you things you don't want to hear. How about this? In my life, I've had friends that came up to me. There's one particular friend. He comes up to me and says, hey, listen, I'm in a really, really, really hard place. My daughter just came back from the military, and she's gay. And I'm a deacon of a church. Am I supposed to throw her out of my house? Am I supposed to correct her? Am I supposed to love her? What am I supposed to do with the situation? I want to explode and tell her how that's wicked and it's how it's of the devil and it's not right? But my wife is going to cry because I threw my daughter out of the house, and what am I supposed to do? Can I tell you? That is not something that I really wanted to hear. Because now I have to bear that burden with him. And we've got to get in, and he's got to tell me how he's hurting, and I've got to give him advice how to go back and keep his family together. Can I tell you, I just got through yesterday, 2 hours on a conversation with another pastor down in Florida about child rearing, about what's going on with his teenage son and with his teenage daughters, right? And we had to go back with this is good, this is bad, this is what's happening, right? Can I tell you, as a friend, now we're both pastors, right? So sometimes a pastor has to have another pastor friend. He can't tell the congregation, right? So as another pastor, I have to carry that weight with me and sometimes come home and my wife look at me going, what is wrong? Like, I can't tell you. It's not me. It's not us, right? I'm just carrying something that's really heavy for me right now. Are you the type of friend that someone can come and tell those things to and not feel like you're going to judge them, but that you're going to help them through it? A true friend will tell you some things that you don't want to hear, and it'll be hard for you to carry. All right, so number one, a true biblical friend will break the rule for you. A true biblical friend will tell you things that you don't want to hear. Here's my last one, then I'm done. A true biblical friend will let you interrupt their life. So this is going to sound self-serving, and I don't want it to sound self-serving. It's just the only illustration that I could come up with, okay? I have a friend, his name is Chris. He was a worship leader at a church. He's got, I don't know, like 23, 40 kids. I don't know, there's just lots of them, right? There's more children than bedrooms in the house. Like, there's a lot of them. And his wife attempted suicide. This is a guy that I know, that I love. I babysat these children. They've been a part of my life. He is one of my four-corner friends. And his wife attempted to commit suicide. So now she's in the psychiatric ward, right? And she's going to have to go through rehab for months. And he is trying to take care of 6 or 7 kids. I can't tell you right now, but 6 or 7 kids. So he's a man trying to take care of 6 or 7 kids on his own while his wife's in rehab, trying to keep that solid, right? Still trying to lead worship and run a business so that he can make enough ends. Like, you get how this is hard, right? He calls me up, tells me what's going on. I look at Katya and I'm like, look, do you think you can go down there for like a month or two and kind of be mom to the kids? I'll take care of Emily and Dima and Pasquale and Isabel. I'll take care of our 4 up here if you'll go down and take care of his 7 down there so he can actually work on his marriage. I'm willing to interrupt my life for 2 months to save his. Are you a friend like that? I mean, that goes back to the 2 a.m. friend, right? But it's not just, can you don't come and get me at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's like, will you stick with me for the next few months? I have walked my friends through 8 to 10 months of chemotherapy. And I really didn't want to. It would have been significantly easier for me just to, I'll pray for you. And forgive me, most of you guys, I would pray for you because I don't know you and you're not one of my friends. But for them, they are allowed to interrupt my life. Do you have a friend that would be willing to interrupt their life? There is a saying in my house, there's a philosophy I live my life by, right? It basically is, failure to plan on your part does not result in an emergency on mine, right? I own 2 companies. I'm a pastor of a church. I have 4 children, right? I am maxed out on what's going on, right? But if something happened with one of these 4 guys, it gets pushed aside. I'm going to go take care of him. Would you lose your business? I would probably lose good money at my business. I might not be able to pastor the church and have someone come fill in, but he's that level to me. Do you have one of those? Are you one of those? You understand the difference between the high school friends that like, we're besties, and a real friend? Can I help you with something? Like, we were on the way over here and I had to tell this to my wife, and then I'm done. This is the end. Really, I have no more points, right? Do you guys know what a click is? Right? Now, I said this to my wife. She goes, yeah, it's a sound. Click. I'm like, no, not that click, right? The click where there's like the 3 girls or the 5 girls or like the 2 boys and they just always hang out together. Can I just like push this at you for a moment? They're not friends. They're emotional support people. That's not a friend. Like, but you don't understand. Like, we all hang out together. If I was a way that I could show you at 50 years old what high school looked like for me 35 years ago, right? Those people are still not friends. You're like, well, there are some of them. Yeah, we call them the Golden Girls, right? And they never did absolutely anything in their life whatsoever. It's a clique. right? And they're emotional support people. There's something mentally wrong where they can't stand on their own 2 feet and they need someone else to do it for. Like we made movies about them called The Mean Girls. Sorry. Not true friends. You're like, but you don't understand. We've sworn to do this forever to each other. Well, great. Let's see what happens when you move to college. Now, your wife, your husband to be, when that happens to y'all, should be one of those friends. In my family, if someone in my family calls twice in a row, that's a rule that we have. They just call. I don't hang up because I don't pick up because I'm busy, and they call again. I don't care if I'm sitting down with the President of the United States. The phone gets answered. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm out. You guys lock up when you leave. There are only a handful of people that are allowed to do that in my life. In my family, my daughter, my son, my wife, and these 4 guys are allowed to do that. Do you have someone like that? Are you someone like that? And if not, you need to find you one. You need to go pick them, talk to them, deputize them. And if you're not, if no one is calling you and picking you, work on your character. You're like, okay, I'm bringing this whole thing around. Hopefully, I took this plane all the way out here, and now I'm bringing it back. We started talking about Thanksgiving. Do you know why the Puritans, the British Christians, came to America? Is they were trying to escape religious persecution. And they were going to starve and die in America because they couldn't farm, they didn't know how to do this. They were the aristocrats that had enough money to get on a boat to make it to America. And the Indians, the savages, decided to help the poor Brits by teaching them how to put a fish underground, then put the seed on top of it so that it would grow. And Thanksgiving was a celebration of the Indians, the savages, and the Puritans getting together, the pagan savages and the Puritans sitting at the same table having dinner because they helped each other get through it. That is what we're celebrating. Our Thanksgiving, our Friendsgiving, is if you have a friend, if you are a friend like I just got through talking about, you have a lot to be thankful for. Because that's not normal. It's not normal to have a friend like that. But if you can make one, if you can be one, if you can work on it together and make that pact, friends get built on stuff you go through, not on cute TV shows named Friends that we watch. Father, thank you for the friends you put in my life. Lord, thank you for the friends that they are to me. God, please help me to be the friend that they need me to be. I would ask you to please make it at a convenient time, but Lord, if they need me, give me the strength to be what they need. Let me be the shoulder they need to cry on. Let me be the counselor they need to speak to. Let me be the one who's got courage enough to interrupt their life and correct them. Please, God, give me patience, understanding, and the will to listen to them when they're going to correct me in the things that I want to do that are wrong, and how I treat my wife, and how I treat my family, and how I run my business. God, I pray as these guys come in tonight, they probably just wanted to sit down and have a nice fellowship dinner with each other, and Lord, I pushed on a button hard. God, please let them take it away. Let them feel challenged, and let them think about it all night, all day tomorrow. And please encourage them to be the biblical friend that you desire us to be to one another. I love you and I praise you. In Jesus' name, amen.